Number three, I am also looking at how are we going to get more foreign exchange into Kenya. That is why I am working round the clock to make sure that we have more Kenyans working in Kenya, in foreign companies when they are in Kenya, and we are also connecting Kenyans to opportunities outside Kenya. For your information, just so that I conclude, I made a commitment in our plan that we want to increase foreign remittances coming into Kenya, hard currency that comes into Kenya from foreign remittance from $4 billion to $10 billion. It is the reason why we just concluded a diaspora investment conference here in KICC this week. It is the reason why I have signed a bilateral agreement, labor agreement with Saudi, with UAE, with Germany, with Canada, and many other countries. We are exploring possibilities. And for your information, as a result of those, what I have been doing, between now and next month, January, the first 10,000 Kenyans will be leaving to go and work in foreign countries so that they can support themselves and support Kenya, because many countries have established a strategy on how to grow their foreign exchange earnings.
On the other hand, maybe still on the government-to-government deals, is it giving us as a nation the desired results?
Absolutely.
8 months down the line?
Absolutely. In fact, that same government product or program, many countries are seeking to know how they can copy that program, because it is giving us what we couldn't have gotten in a different way.
Then how can we control the prices now? You see, fuel, it's been up and down. Right now we're talking of 210, 212 per liter.
Ali Manzu.
Yes.
You heard me say this. The price of fuel is not determined by the government of Kenya. It is not determined by any company. It is determined by the producers. That is why today the price of fuel in Kenya is the same price in Uganda, is the same price in Tanzania, because we buy from the same place.
Mheshimiwa Rais, tutakuja kwa hilo baadaye.
You know, I have heard people say the president should reduce the price to 150.
Tutarudi kwa hilo baadaye, Mheshimiwa Rais.
How are you going to do that? Unless I take taxpayers' money and go and subsidize, which is removing money from this pocket and putting it in this other pocket.
Mheshimiwa Rais,
unaposema kwamba bei ya mafuta serikali haina uwezo mkubwa kuhusiana na bei ya mafuta. Itakumbuka kwamba wakati wa kampeni kabla hujawa rais, ulisema kwamba bei ya mafuta wakati wa utawala wa rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta ilisababishwa na wale ambao waliwaita cartels, na zaidi ukaeleza kuhusiana na ushuru mwingi. Nini kilibadilika?
Hakuna kitu kimebadilika. Mambo ya ushuru, nimepunguza ushuru kwa mafuta, nimepunguza ushuru ya road development levy, nimepunguza ushuru ya railway development levy, na ilikuwa kwa budget. Tumepunguza ushuru mara 4 in 4 different categories. But you see, that is not sufficient to reduce the price, because the price of oil itself is going up because of the producers.
Ni sawa kusema kwamba changamoto za kimataifa zinaathiri bei ya mataifa nchini?
You see, changamoto za kimataifa na bei ya fuel ya kimataifa imechangia. Amesema huyu mrembo kwamba tumeongeza bei ya VAT. Ni kweli, tumeongeza bei ya VAT, lakini tumepunguza ushuru zingine. Tunaongeza bei ya VAT kwa sababu gani? Kenya tuko katika kiwango inaitwa middle income economy. We are in the same category as South Africa. We are in the same category as Morocco. We are in the same category as Tunisia. I want you to check their taxes, because our taxes are now at 15.6% of GDP. 15.6% of GDP. Taxes in South Africa is 27% of GDP. Taxes in Morocco is 32% of GDP. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to answer the question because, you know, the people of Kenya are being pushed and being told, look, you are paying more taxes than other countries. Is that true? That is not true.
Now,
we are paying the same taxes like all countries that are in our same category. And let me tell you the difference so that you can take the chance. Let me tell you the category. If we go to the market, the countries that are in LDCs, they get a lower interest rate than those of us who are in middle income. So you cannot compare them and us. We are in a different category. And for your information, countries like France, their tax as a percentage of GDP is 45%. We are only at 15.6%. That's the difference.
Na Mheshimiwa Rais, bado tuko kwa hili swala la shilingi na dola. Umezungumzia miradi tofauti hapa ambayo mmeweka katika mpango wa kuweza kupunguza hiyo dola ambayo shilingi iweze kuwa na thamani. Swala la mahindi umesema by mwaka ujao Aprili hapo pengine swala la mahindi tutapunguza kuimport na mambo kama hayo. Ukatajwa masuala kuhusu pia edible oil na miradi ambayo ipo. Lakini Mkenya pale nje anajiuliza watasubiri hadi lini hii shilingi iweze kupata thamani yake ili maisha yaweze kuwa sawa?
Wakenya watazubiri kwa sababu dola sio serikali ya Kenya inaamua. Dola ni biashara, ni kati ya zile vitu tunauza na vile tunanunua. Ndio tunapata ile uwezo wa kudhibiti. Kwa sasa kuna vitu nyingi tunaagiza kutoka nje. Na ndio nimesema ili kupunguza vitu ambazo tunaagiza kutoka nje, lazima tuanze kuzitengeneza hapa Kenya. Simiti, nimesema ya kwamba na tumeweka katika budget ya mwaka huu ya kwamba simiti itakuwa inatengenezwa Kenya. Kwa sababu tuko na kampuni, tutapanua kampuni ambazo tuko nazo, ndio tuweze kuokoa dola ambazo tunatumia kuagiza simiti. Chuma tutaanza kutengeneza Kenya. Tayari tuko na kampuni ya kutosha kutengeneza Kenya. Furniture tutatengeneza Kenya.
Kwa hivyo,
chakula tutazalisha Kenya. Ndio tuweze kupunguza ile dola ambazo pesa ambazo tunatumia ya kigeni kuagiza vitu ambazo zinakuja Kenya, ndio tuweze kumanage ile exchange rate.
Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Rais, hadi hapo Mkenya ataendelea kukandamizika?
Hadi hapo, unajua sasa hakuna miujiza itafanyika. Unajua sasa wewe unataka kufanya miracles.
I think, Mr. President,
hakuna miracle. You know, this is what is happening globally.
Mr. President,
we live in a global economy and we need to understand. And it is very important for us sitting here to tell the people of Kenya that, because you know, many people are saying the price of fuel. I want to tell the people of Kenya, the price of fuel is not controlled by the government of Kenya. That's why I was saying yesterday, many people are praising me that, oh, you see, we have now begun to see the prices of fuel coming down. I told them, no, musinisifu, hakuna kitu nimefanya, ni wale wanatuuzia wameanza kupunguza bei. Na mimi nataka niwaeleze wa Kenya, bei ya mafuta hapa Kenya ni sawasawa na bei ya mafuta.
Mr. President, we'll get to fuel. We shall get to that, Mr. President. But I want to ask something my colleague Sam asked earlier. So did you promise what you couldn't deliver?
I promised in the context of where we are. If things had stayed constant, I would have kept my promise. But you know, we live in a situation that things are changing. The world, we live in a global environment, that the prices are going up. You cannot keep unless, and I don't want to lie to the people of Kenya and say, let me spend public money so that I look like I am keeping my promise and I am doing the wrong thing. It is better for me to be brutally honest and say, this is not possible. We may have made a commitment, but because the situation changed and everybody knows what that situation is today, the prices of commodities went up. You heard Uhuru Kenyatta say he was not the one who started the war in Ukraine, and all the other things. But that is okay.
Mr. President,
what we must be honest to ourselves is, are we doing the best to manage the situation so that doesn't flip and go in the wrong direction? And I want to tell you, yes.
Mr. President, I thank you for that response. And to be brutally honest, just to pick up from where you are sitting, I think Kenyans know that it's actually true that government has a big role to play in terms of the fuel prices. It's not true that government doesn't play, because 40% of the taxes, between 40 to 45% of the fuel price in Kenya is actually government taxes. So government has a big role to play on that. I think we need to move to energy now that we have energy.
Just before that, Paul, Mr. President, I hear you, and I've listened to you carefully saying that if things had remained constant, and I was hoping that you'd explain what is that constant, because you also say
if the U.S. dollar had not been, the exchange rate was not, if the U.S. interest rate was not increased.
It was increasing already.
It was increasing, but it has reached a place where everybody thought it was going to stop. But the next 3-4 increases were completely unexpected. Even today, all of us expected that they would begin to come down, but they've decided to keep it.
Okay, and Mr. President...
and you see, while my good brother here said government has a lot of say on taxes.
Yeah.
You see, my friend, while it is true that I can tomorrow say, let us reduce the taxes, it is also true that tomorrow, for every 10 shillings I collect, every 10 shillings, 7 shillings go to paying debt. Are you telling me that you want me to do what other countries have done, to default on debt? Because that's the only option I have. I can say, okay, let us pay less, and then let's tell the international community Kenya cannot service debt. Is that what you want us to do? That would be very...
And Mr. President, that's what I was asking you.
So precisely, you cannot say, it is simplistic for you to say, yes, the government can, 40% of fuel is taxes. The government can decide tomorrow to lower the taxes. But those taxes we are collecting, we have education to fund. First, we have 7 shillings for every 10 to pay debt, which William Ruto did not accumulate, right? Number 2, the 3 other shillings, we have to pay our children to go to school. We have to manage our security. We have to manage our health. We have to manage everything else. We have to pay our teachers. So are you telling me I go and tell teachers, I don't have salary for you this month because I have to reduce the price of fuel? Do you think that would be reasonable?
Maybe just, Mr. President, on that issue, just hold on to that thought a bit, because if you look at the prices of fuel, what has happened is that we are looking at consumption. If I look at the last data, the last 3 months data, consumption of fuel has actually dropped to a 5-year low. And if you look at even KRA, the collection, they missed the target. They were off the ordinary revenue by about 31 billion Kenya shillings. So what is happening is, yes, on this end, you have a plan to collect taxes, but these taxes are not coming through to Kenya Revenue Authority. And on the other end, you are killing the economy because you have people not moving, consumption, because oil and electricity basically will tell you what is happening in the economy.
For your information, your figures are wrong, because if you look at the taxes that have been collected from fuel, they've gone up. That's the correct position. So the other taxes are the ones that they have not met the targets. And why haven't they met the targets? Because I gave them a very high target.
Mr. President,
because I wanted them to do much more than they are doing.
Mr. President, let's just take a look at the data.
So don't misrepresent facts.
Let's talk about
the correct position.
The data you have from the Kenya Revenue Authority, because they're the ones who collect the revenue in their report. In the first quarter, ended September 2023, the oil taxes, the target was 84.6 billion shillings. They collected 77.7 billion shillings. Similar period last year, it was 78 1.5 billion shillings. That's a drop of about 800 million shillings. So indeed, for quarter one, there has been a reduction. If you're to speak about the volumes, the same quarter, diesel in 2022, quarter one, it was 1.15